Joy Lingerie. And today I have with us Marcia Kester. Uh,
Oh,
You're a guitar artist extraordinaire. And before I get started, I want to give a shout out to Luscious Moss Studio, who is my sponsor. It's owned and operated by Chad Quist out of Edgewood, Washington. He has a creative, collaborative environment for everybody guitarists, drummers, you name it, singers. And he's the producer for my music. And if you have any needs, you just give him a call. You can find him online on Facebook under Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Quist. And once again, that's Edgewood, Washington. With that being said, good afternoon, Marcia. I think it's time for us to get started. We tried this like 2 weeks ago. I got sick. I've heard for the first time for a long time. Hi,
well, I'm glad
Joanne.
you're doing better now.
I snuck Joanne in there, but she's online now and um, she's saying hello to us.
Oh, hello.
She's a drummer extraordinaire.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
I know you don't use drummers, do you?
I've had a live band in the past,
Yeah,
but currently as a one-woman band, I
yeah,
have everything inside my backing tracks. So,
right. So
yeah.
how did that all get started? When did you first get your first instrument? What was it? And how old or not how old, but some idea of where you were at in your life when you did it.
Oh, awesome. So, I'll just preface this with when I was in third grade, my brother was a drummer in a band,
Ah, it's
and
drummers
they
galore.
would practice at our house, and I thought it was the most magical thing, that like it was a unicorn, and I thought that's
Yeah.
what I want to do. And it actually took me 6 years to talk my mom into buying me my first guitar. And it was funny, I was showing my grandson photos the other day, and there was, lo and behold, so when I was in the ninth grade for Christmas, I got the little Supro guitar and amp package. My
Oh,
parents got it from Hugo Helmer. So that was my first instrument other than banging on pots and pans and playing the air guitar. And we actually, I did an interview recently and forgot, we kind of always had a piano
uh-huh.
that my mom would play, really. And I would poke around on it a bit, but I always wanted the guitar. So getting that guitar was really magical. So
Absolutely.
ninth grade, first guitar. And I just knew my whole life I wanted to be this rock and roller.
Oh,
So,
you did a pretty good job of it too. By the way, I want to say about this air guitar. Last night I was at a jam, and I don't know if you know Doug Rusk, but he has a jam on Thursday night over at Maltby Pizza. And
awesome.
when the jam started at Duval at the Twin Dragon last night, he was playing the air guitar to the music, and I almost fell off my chair. He's a
That's
good
awesome.
guitarist, but people
Aw.
still play it. So if you're looking for instructions on air guitar, look up Doug Rusk.
I love it. That's awesome. That name is familiar. And, there's so many brilliant musicians in the area. And I've only gotten to meet some of them, in person, but certainly follow many of them all on Facebook and all of that.
Absolutely,
So, a big
there
fan.
is. I agree with you. And then this is greetings from Africa. Uh, we love you, and thanks for being so helpful and supportive to us in the kingdom of God. I've never
Oh,
had that before, but hello.
I love that so
Welcome
much.
here.
The further reaches of our personhood,
Right.
spirituality is a part of my story as well. So,
So, what happened after you got your first air guitar? Did you take lessons or did you try to learn on your own? Or how did that, what was the,
I'm very glad my mom was very prepared when she gave me that guitar for Christmas. She also had guitar lessons lined up.
yes.
And it was so funny because my first teacher, he actually wanted to teach me, how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the notes, right? That
Yes.
was so not the idea I had in my mind of being a rock and roll guitar player. So
Oh,
I practiced, I practiced a little, but my heart was not in that. And the funny thing was is that guy basically it was like his head was going to pop off every wrong note that I made. He just seemed like he was going to explode.
Oh no.
And I was able to communicate with my mom enough where she actually then got me another guitar player, Dean Britton,
Mm.
and he's a long time Skagit County musician, and so he was the guitar teacher who taught me everything I know that I use in my guitar playing skills to date.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is,
But you do, when I saw you out at the Grange on the island.
uh-huh.
Can't think of the name of that island.
Yeah, Camino
Camino,
Island.
you know.
Yeah.
And I was brought there by the guy who, the girl that, guy, she's gonna kill me. The woman who does my website and helps me maintain it, Courtney Prather, and
Hmm.
she took me out to see you. I happened to be there so we could go through all this website and creation and so forth. And she said, "Well, there's something going on at the Grange tonight. There's a lady there named Marcia Kester, and you got to see her." So I did. I went down there, and that's how I saw you play.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, and you have a very interesting. I want to get back to your history, but you have such a awesome setup because you don't use the band, but you do use something that gives you music in the background. Can you explain that to us? How that works?
Sure. And I'm
And,
happy to try to, it's so funny because I don't consider myself a real knowledgeable musician. I mean, I know chords and everything else that I've learned when I started performing 20 years ago. Any technology and all of that has come along in that time. And for a long time, for the first few years, I just played guitar and I sang. And then I got my own sound system and learned
yeah.
how to do that. And then I had at a point where I had like three different songbooks that if I wanted to play a song, I knew some songs by heart, but I
Mhm.
knew a lot of songs I needed to be able to have reference
Mhm.
to chords
Right.
and or lyrics. So after a while, it was funny. I don't even remember who exactly it was that I saw first with an iPad. And I went, well, I know a little bit about, computers. I'm a bookkeeper by trade.
Ah,
I have experience with a little bit with technology, but that intrigued me. So I got my first iPad and I'm not even exactly sure how I came upon the program that I use. So the program I use that allows me to scroll
mhm.
my chords and lyrics and start and stop my iTunes backing tracks is a program called OnSong, and it's
Oh, I've seen that.
ONSONG, and
Yeah.
it's one word. And when I got it, it was only offered as a one-time purchase, and then you could upgrade if you wanted to. I can't remember if I spent maybe $40 on it or something,
Yeah.
but it has been wonderful, and it's specifically designed to be able to manipulate audio tracks inside the program. So there's a lot
Oh,
of, I guess, programs that you can scroll chords and lyrics and do things, but the on songs unique and very helpful part
yeah.
of it is the ability to start and stop or pause backing tracks. And so it's been a journey. Any program there's a learning curve, right, to
Right.
figuring it out. And the
Right.
best thing I ever figured out with that program was to stop updating my iPad or the program. I really virtually only use my iPad for performing, and so I don't
Right.
need the up because the updates in either program would just mess everything up, and there's nothing more frustrating and embarrassing and stressful than to be on stage pulling up the next song and it doesn't work properly, right?
Right. So, do you need Wi-Fi to do that?
No, actually, once you've
Oh,
got everything, I've got the music in my iTunes loaded on my iPad, and then my chords and lyrics are all text documents that I've loaded into my iPad. I do that through Dropbox. And so it's all on the hard memory or the
Right.
hard drive of the
Uh-huh.
iPad.
Right.
uh, you you can use Bluetooth to set up pedals, and they offer so many plugins and so much technology, and some of it does require Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But the only thing I use, another unique and wonderful thing in this on song program, it gives you the ability to create light shows and run DMX lighting from it.
Wow.
Now that you've got to be able to connect to a Wi-Fi hub. So I got the Wi-Fi, the little Apple device, and
Right.
that's the only time that I use that connectivity
Yeah.
is when I do certain shows. My Patsy Cline tribute, I do lighting scenes for every song, and
Wow.
so but normally it's just me and the iPad, and
Yeah.
what you see is what you get.
Right. And I missed your show. You had a show, I think, at the Oxford in Snohomish, and I was sick a month ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's been some updates since I last saw you.
Oh my gosh. Well,
So
every season, every year is different.
yeah.
I feel like this year might be a little different in the sense of, pre-COVID, building a lot, just,
Yeah.
word of mouth, and
Right.
it's kind of interesting. I've always felt like when I try to promote myself, I don't get a lot of response, but when people promote me and somebody gives me a chance,
Right.
then you add those usually the repeat type scheduled
Yeah.
performances, and
Great.
it's such a wonderful thing. So
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to get into um, the breweries and the wine bars. I want to say that, but
uh
the wineries.
huh.
And I have no clue. I mean, I know you need to go and get a list of them and find out if they play music and send them your EPK, that kind of stuff. But I'm still working on that. But
Me
let's go.
too.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too. I don't think there's any. My experience, I guess, is that there's no, that some of them might want just the EPK and don't want you to communicate. Some of them I've set up through Messenger. Some of
ah,
them I've dropped off physical CD copies and met the music hirers, and you know, uh, again, I'll say it seems like my most success is when they've actually listened
yes,
to a
absolutely.
customer or somebody who says, you need to listen to this lady or
Yeah,
have her. And then when they give me a chance, then we get that door
right.
open. But I think, I don't know, there's no right formula. You just got
Yeah,
to do what you
pick and
can. And
choose. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Let's get back to your history. When was after you got your guitar?
Uh huh.
Approximately, um, probably 10, 12, somewhere in that area, in about fifth grade.
Oh, actually, when I got my first guitar was ninth grade in high school. So it
Oh,
took
okay.
me from third grade, took 6 years to talk my mom into
Well, I'm into
actually
that.
getting that guitar and putting it out there for me. So I
That's
think
a
she
good
was afraid it would be a passing, she'll
right,
get over it,
right.
but I never got over it.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't go for the drums because it probably would have taken longer.
I think so. Although I don't know how my brother got his drums and got
Yeah,
my
yeah.
mom talked into it, but she
2
worked
kids
a
with
lot.
drums might have been too much.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
when was the first time then? Ninth grade. That's you're a teenager by this time, and you're
Uh-huh.
in middle school or high school. I don't know. Every
High
place
school.
is different.
Yeah.
But when was your first playing out gig?
Well, so it was very awesome when I was taking lessons from Dean,
Uh huh.
he thought I was pretty solid in my ability to keep rhythm and a flow
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
songs
Yeah.
that he would teach me, and I practiced. Like, I
Yeah.
loved what
Yeah.
he was showing me. It was awesome. And so he had other students, and he introduced me to a gal who was just a little younger than me, Patty Vale.
Okay.
And then he started teaching us together. So he'd teach me the rhythm, and then he would he started teaching me lead, and then he would have her in that lesson too, and we kind of collaborated together, back and forth. She
How
went on to
interesting.
be a finger style guitarist, and she graduated high school and went to guitar school and moved to England and
Oh my God.
auditioned and made
Oh,
recordings and all this stuff.
oh, wow.
And I, in my family, although my mom got me my guitar and I took lessons and I practiced hard, and I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to go to guitar school. I wanted to be a rock and roll star. My
Oh,
parents were like, "No way, you're not
oh,
doing that.
no.
That's a terrible
Oh,
life. What are
no.
you thinking? You're too smart for that."
Oh,
And so I listened to them. I was one of those people who I thought if I was talented enough or should be doing it, my parents would be the ones encouraging me to do that. And I didn't realize that, until later, that sometimes out of parents' cautionary,
yeah.
experience, they don't want their kid to go off and be a drug addict, alcoholic, musician on the road, never knowing where your next
Yeah.
food is coming from, whatever the stigma
Yeah.
that went with the lifestyle of a musician. But when
Especially
I was
rock.
in
I mean, country was had its quirks too, but yeah, rock would I would have discouraged one of my children too. Thank God I never had to worry about that. But yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah,
Well, it's interesting because for my whole life, thought I can't do this. I stayed behind. My friend went off to
they get
guitar
to talk.
school. Oh, and actually, getting back to your original question, was when was my first
Yeah,
performance?
yeah.
Through Patty, I met Leslie Epting, and she was Rick Epting's daughter, who Rick Epting was very much, his band created the Magic Skagit Festival. He was very instrumental in the McIntyre Hall and funding for that in Mount Vernon at Skagit Valley College. He promoted and did live music of all sorts. His name is on the Lincoln Theater in downtown Mount Vernon. So
Oh,
he actually gave us the opportunity at some of their things during those high school years to get
yeah.
to do a little 2 or 3 song performance. So I
Right.
guess usually even maybe just a one song performance. And so that was my first experience with live music, but and playing out.
Yeah.
It
Hi,
was nerve
Sylvia.
wracking.
We have Sylvia coming. Sylvia is a guitarist. She's um, a lead type finger picking guitarist.
Oh,
She's
awesome.
watching us today.
Hi,
Uh,
Sylvia.
so that sounds like it was fun, but how did you deal with the stage fright, or did you have none?
With the stage what?
Right. Usually beginners have stage fright. Did you have
Oh,
it?
yes.
And how did
Oh,
you deal
yeah.
with it?
Oh, even I mean, I was petrified. I for my whole life until getting to the music and really probably, realizing 15 years ago that I love where it all came together. People, I don't know whether people have any thoughts about it, but people think I'm so confident and I'm
Yes,
so
you are. You
outgoing.
cure it
But
when you're performing.
I never was an outgoing, confident person my whole entire life. So, but I knew, I always had that passion for the music, even after graduating high school, and I got married and had kids and got divorced. And, at 10 years, when I was 30 years old, I ended up getting clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. And
And
so,
even though you weren't a full-time musician,
oh my gosh,
no,
exactly,
I know
exactly. So
the things you were afraid of.
the interesting thing how life comes around in the most interesting ways is that I got clean and sober, and for 10 years I worked my butt off, really making a good life, trying to be a good parent, healing my family relationships, and getting a job and doing all these things, and thought I was I couldn't have tried any harder to make a good life. And it was very interesting because all that whole time, the being a musician never left my heart, never left my mind. I just didn't know how or when I would ever be able to do it.
Right.
Right. And so after 9/11, the company I'd been working for suddenly closed our store and I lost everything.
Wow.
And my kids, we ended up homeless and I was jobless. And then I was depressed
Oh, my Lord, lady.
at 10 years clean and sober. It was not a musician and found myself in community housing shelter, Skagit
And
County Community Shelter.
I've done my
And
stint with that too.
oh my goodness,
Yeah,
life
but not.
changing.
I didn't go into housing. I went out. I went out to Fort Lewis where I was working and stayed in their primitive camping area in my
Oh,
car
wow.
for a while.
Wow.
Well, I finally got enough money to do my thing in an apartment, but it was.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well,
Very scary time.
yeah, very scary. And, I kind of I mentioned earlier, I'm a spiritual person. I kind of had a sense that, well, there was two things. I had a sense that for me, God was working in my life in some way I could not understand because that was not supposed to be my life.
Yeah, I
I
get it.
was no longer an addict. I was not a musician by any means or anything. And the interesting thing is that I thought I feel like there's something happening, but the other thing that was my largest fear in life, and it's my personal thing, is I'll never be good enough and I'll never be worthy. And that's the tapes that go on in my head.
And you buried a
um
lot of people's head. I've been
y-
there.
yeah, so it was very interesting because looking back in hindsight, the fact of the matter was I was picked up off of this path that was Marcia being a normal, walking around, working, clean and sober person, and put on this other path where nothing left to lose. And all I ever wanted to be was a musician. I ended up in the displaced homemaker program at Skagit Valley College. And
Oh,
it's a program that's no longer offered there. And I'm so sad about that because people come from all kinds of broken places in life
yeah.
at all ages. You never know when that's going to hit you. And in that class, when we were looking at what's everybody going to do, you're at this point, you're in this class, so things are not exactly working out. What are you going to do now? And the most miraculous thing in my life changed in an instant.
Wow.
I said, all I ever wanted to be was a musician. This should not be my life because I am not a musician. And I don't know what to say. I'll never be a bookkeeper again because that was supposed to be the secure track that would
Yeah,
give
right.
me everything, right?
Hi,
And
Rosie. We have one more person here. Hold on. Sorry to
oh
just.
yeah,
Hi, Rosie.
hi Rosie. So glad for you guys to join us.
So what? You were in this program. Did you continue with college, or did you start your music career at that point? What was the?
It was a very instantaneous thing in the class. I was not doing music. There was a couple of times in the years since high school and at that point in my life. So let me see here, from 18 to 40,
Yeah.
in all those 22 years in between there, I got the gumption and picked up wanted to do the music in and amongst different times, but really I was a pick that guitar up once or twice a year person and didn't really do much with it until I actually did a course in the late 90s. It's called the Landmark Forum. And in that program, there was a lady who had denied her heart's desire her whole life. And in the class, they said, you got to do it. If it's in your heart, you got to do it. And I started practicing my guitar. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I picked up my
Right.
guitar and would play weekly, if not, multiple times a week, just for myself. I'd hide
Right.
in my room.
Yeah.
You could hear me if you wandered by the window and it was open, or my kids.
Right.
But in that class at the Displaced Homemaker program, it was such a shock to them that I wanted to be a musician, because I didn't. We'd been in the class together a month and a half, and nobody knew I was a musician at all. I did not say anything. I knew I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I shared that, they said, bring your guitar to class. And that, having these, 10 people who said, oh my gosh, you need to do this, spurred me. So in that class, what I figured out was, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go in the music program.
Yeah.
And and registered for that. And about halfway through the first year, I went, oh, holy cow, they're teaching me way more stuff than I want to know about music theory. It was hard,
Yeah.
a lot of learning.
The
And
modes and scales and oh god, yeah.
yeah. And, the teachers in the program knew that I wanted to be a musician, but they didn't have any real in the music program that they were in and came from was traditional, operatic, kind of that kind of thing. And I couldn't quite get them to understand and
Yeah.
teach me how to do what I'm doing better.
Right.
So that was an interesting time. And in fact, the one lady said, I hope you're not hoping to do this music thing, because you just don't got the chops. I'm sorry to tell you, I come from a background, and no, and that almost turned me tail.
Oh my
I
gosh. She had
I
no
cried. I cried my eyes out and
no.
was miserable for a whole weekend, because I thought, I'm finally on my way to this
Right.
music.
Yeah.
And was this just my lifelong dream, and I'm not supposed to do this? And then what? What am I supposed to do now? But I went and talked to Margot, the teacher from the Displaced Homemaker program, and she's like, don't you listen to her.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
You do you. And I kept spurred on and did it. Well, I always say, bless this lady's heart, because I graduated in 2005 and from the college program. I
Wow.
ended up basically just once I realized I didn't want to do the music program like a transfer degree,
Right.
I took additional credits and just got my AA real quick and got
Yeah.
out of there.
Yeah.
And but it was very interesting, because my very first lounge gig was the Country Girls Barbecue in Mount Vernon. I got to play twice a week.
Wow.
That was, I'd done few other things in that couple of years before, but not like playing every week for a live audience. That was my first experience doing that. And funny thing, that teacher who told me, hope you don't plan to do this, her
Yeah.
son was a dishwasher there.
Oh.
And she came
Oh.
in and
Oh.
she heard this person, she heard music. And
Oh
then
my
she
god.
realized it was somebody talking. And when she came around and saw that it was me, and I went on my break, she's like, oh my gosh, like I walked in and I heard this music. She's like, you really do what you're doing quite well. I was like, wow, wow. Okay,
Girl.
full circle. Like, so you got to follow your heart, right?
I got
Uh,
a question. I'm
yeah.
sitting here looking at who's in here or who may be watching the rest of it later. A lot of people don't show up on mine. We got 4 people in here that I know of.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed that the majority of people here are women, and some of them are musicians. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory, and I can't test it, but as I sit here and interview you guys, and I'm part of the music scene myself, I play, I'm thinking, I wonder if it's harder for a woman to break that barrier by themselves as an independent artist in this area than it is for a guy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't. I think right now, I'll just say this. Right now, I think there are a lot of musicians and a lot of bands looking for gigs. So simply by numbers,
Yeah.
men or women. There's a lot of people knocking on the doors to get the gigs. The other thing that I'll say is, and you've probably noticed it too, and the other women, there's way fewer women
Yes.
out there doing this, whether solo or in a band,
Yeah.
than men.
That's
So
right.
it really is a predominantly male, but I don't know if that discourages hirers so much or
I
not.
don't know because I just did a gig at a retirement home
Uh-huh.
at the Redmond Senior Community. Yeah, we did an hour and a half. We had a full band. And I had a lead who is with this well-known band called the Hot Rodsters,
Uh-huh.
and they play in casinos and so forth. And he would, when every time he'd sing, they'd get up and dance. But when I'd sing, even though I was playing some of the same beats or whatever, they did not.
Yeah.
And but they were still appreciating music. I'm not going to fault them for that because they all were having a great time. It's just that that male voice or something about the male voice. Then I listen to the radio. There's a wolf, something wolf channel, wolf
Uh-huh.
country channel, and I was listening to that, and they play nine during the day. And on my travels, they played nine male songs and one female.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started reading about it, and it's like they're they're even at the very top. Women are the minority, not the
Mm-hmm.
majority, and so I think for all the women who are listening and all the women who will listen in the future, that it takes a kind of courage that you have to
Mm-hmm.
keep knocking on that door because something inside you is telling you this is what you are supposed to do, or this is something that you know within yourself you can't do without.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a struggle. Obviously, you've had a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a struggle until I came back. I had my own band from 2000 to 2015.
Oh
Got
wow.
cancer, had to quit. Um, Simply couldn't physically take it.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. And the reason I got that band is because nobody would, I had jammed with over 30 bands in the area. Nobody was asking me to, fill in or whatever. So I said, well, heck with it. I'll do it myself. And I did. I got a band, bought all the equipment. My husband was the promoter and sound man.
Oh
And
wow.
then I got cancer, quit. And I finally got back in 2019 with the Bothell Senior Band. But then when COVID hit, that was the end of that. And we will speak about COVID next. But the point being that once I came back in 2019, the whole thing changed, and then COVID, and it changed even more. And
Yeah.
unlike you, I'm having a hard time uh, finding some kind of band because I'm not a lone player. I mean, if I had a set of like yours, I'd probably do that. But yeah, it's a tough go, and I hear it. I hear you, and I just admire your courage. I just want to tell you that.
Uh,
So, long
Thank
story
you.
to say that, but
Oh my gosh. Well, and yours too. We don't know what life is going to bring along, and whether health personal health issues or something like COVID, you just don't know. And I've read all these self help books, how to do this or how to do that, and people even still say don't quit your day job, ha ha ha, or whatever. And I'm like, that's my exact goal.
yeah,
I want to do
exactly.
music full time. I know that's what I feel I'm called to do, but you have a world of people who I don't think they mean to be discouraging, but you have a world of people, not very many people realize. In fact, I've been having this conversation with my daughter a lot lately, uh, that there's a whole world of people who, the 9 to 5, and I just want to work. I want a house. I want a family. I want retirement, and then I'll enjoy my life.
Yeah, but
There's
you may not live that long.
plus there's only so much hours and energy in the day.
Yeah.
It's hard doing uh, going for something that is a passion And I totally believe if you can do your passion and earn your income your whole entire life and never have to have a traditional job, bless your heart, and you
Yeah.
need to do that. And that, I feel that should be everybody's goal. Not everybody can be a musician, but there's people with passions of all sorts and strengths of all sorts. And I feel that many of us, we fall into something and it's just easier to keep that hamster wheel going than to
Right.
break the status quo. And I'm grateful in my life for the sorted stopping and starting over again of addiction, of different things that came along in my life. And ultimately, the last time that brought me to exactly the place to spring forward in the music, because I've never considered myself a real brave or courageous person.
Oh, but
I
you are.
but I always felt like, with the addiction, it was, am I going to end up in jail or dead
Uh-huh.
or recovered, or what? I had people counting on me, so I felt like, well, it was really a matter of many things. Certainly the influence and people who had gone before, and those people willing to mentor and help us in our journey. But when I started the music, I actually reached out in that early time. My Margot from the Displaced Homemaker program, bless her heart, she had me doing tasks, and I was grateful for the 10 years of recovery where I just learned to do what was assigned to me. And I didn't question it a lot because it was working, and my thinking didn't get me that kind of
Right.
success.
Right.
And so she was like, call this person, go there, do this, do that. Out of a series of baby steps, the bigger picture comes
Excuse me.
into play, right?
Right.
And so I did reach out actually specifically to some women in the area. And I have to say, I don't know where exactly they were coming from, but they were not encouraging. And maybe they just thought this is some fly by night person. We've never heard of her. And she's just wanting to start the music now. Like, what's she been doing? Like, is this, a pipe dream, or, you know what I mean? Kind of where's this person coming from? Well, it's a hard industry. But, the discouragement I got, for me, could have sent me the other way
Yeah,
if not for,
definitely. Just
if
goes to show what a strong person you become.
Oh my goodness. But
Right.
and I try to, if men or women, if they come up and ask about my setup or have anything to say, or, oh, I want to do that, or,
Yeah.
you're doing what I want to do, it's like, do it. Like, if I can help you, and I just want to say that to anybody watching this broadcast live
I might
or
knock on
after
your
the
door.
live, if there's, I don't know a lot about a lot of things, but I've figured out how to
Yeah,
do
get that up
what
there.
I'm doing. And I want to be encouraging, because I feel like getting to this whole musician and dream come true in life, whatever it is, whether it's music related or not,
Right.
we need this in our life and our planet right now. Like, amidst all of the discouragement and any negatives that there is, we need light.
Yes. So what happened? What was your thinking and how are you feeling when I don't know what stage you were in your journey at this time, but about 2019,
Uh-huh.
was right after that. In 2020, I got COVID. I didn't get I got sick, but I
Hmm.
didn't get sick enough to die. Thank God.
Yeah, thank goodness.
And and then I got the COVID shots and all that stuff. But now I've got so much COVID stuff in me. I'm probably three-quarters COVID protection.
Oh
No,
my goodness.
and I still got sick, but I wasn't with COVID.
Yeah.
Um, but what were you thinking? I mean, that was kind of a down time. I remember I was just sitting here sick,
Hmm.
not knowing what was going on. They were asking me strange questions like, have you ever been to China? I mean, like, what?
Wow.
What are you talking about? I mean, I had no clue, and they hadn't told anybody yet. Well, this was in January and February when I was sick of 2020. And it finally all came out, and then the lockdown came, and I was sitting around feeling depressed, and then I grabbed my guitar and I said, "Well, the hell with this." Sorry, and I
Yeah.
started songwriting, producing music. But what how did that impact your life? How did that impact your feelings? I mean, that had to be another whammy. It
It
sounds
was.
like it. Yeah.
It was. The interesting thing is, in the so that was about 15 years into the music.
Oh,
I before COVID, was performing 3 to 5 times a week. I've had a part-time job
right.
doing bookkeeping, which I swore back in my
You
classes
couldn't
in
do.
the summer program, I'll never be a bookkeeper again. That didn't work out. But when I graduated in 2005, I went to work at a company. I'm still employed there. Bless their hearts, I got hired with a flexible schedule, and
Um,
the particular duties that I've now honed my job to, I can do my job in half time,
right.
20 hours or
Right.
whatever a week.
Right.
And so at the time in 2019, I felt encouraged enough in my what was repeat performances here in Washington, in the Northwest here. I thought, wow, like I feel like I'm finally at a point where I can retire from my day job. My plan is I'm getting an RV, and then I'll winter down south in Arizona for the winter, and be up here the rest of the
And
time.
here
And
comes
I should be
COVID.
able to. I should be able to. So in November of 2019, I bought the RV.
Oh,
In January of 2020, I moved into the RV, and that was my plan. And then COVID hit,
excuse me.
and so I stayed in that RV parked here in Burlington for that 2 years. And even though went through the restrictions, and I got to do some lives from
Yeah.
during that time, some Facebook lives from the senior center, and then different variety of outdoor type performances um, during COVID, and the lockdown and coming out of the lockdown period and stuff. But I felt like 2 years into it, I was like, I don't know, are they going to lock us down again? Is every winter going to bring the transfer of this bug? I was like, I don't know that I can ever rest assured that the
Yeah.
plan I thought I had
Yeah. It was going to
will
work.
ever. Right. So I ended up selling the RV and moved in, and now I'm just renting a place and reformulating and reconsidering. I'm
Right.
I'm a little more hopeful right at this moment that we're not going to necessarily have a lockdown, at least not because of COVID.
Right.
Anyway, I hope not.
Right. Yeah.
But I before COVID, I was like, even if I never do music full time, my life is such a dream. I don't care if I ever get to do music full time. Doing what I'm doing is blessed and magnificent.
Yeah.
And that is still now, even with that plan having gone away, as it was at the time, I still feel that way. But now it costs more for everything.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if I want to, being a single woman and doing the RV thing, that was pretty daunting.
Yeah.
Being a full time, if I'm driving to a gig and I'm still promoting and all the things,
Yeah. That goes
as a,
with it. Yep.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know that I'll uh, do that or not. I've aged 5 years too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
age comes along,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I'll be 62.
Straps at the door.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, even if I hung out and did what I'm doing until I'm 67, and maybe I won't need an RV, but maybe with Social Security, whatever, and my little bit of retirement that I will have amassed, none, certainly not compared to anybody else, what it needs to be. But if I can do the music and make a humble existence, I don't care. My life is rich.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think you'll be doing that long past 80.
Oh, I hope so. I see these folks that are local gems that are still out there performing, and um, it's
Yep.
I hope to never have to stop. And I
Yes.
guess I was telling my daughter just last night. I was like, and even if I did, something came along and interrupted it, you're changed as a person,
Yeah.
uh, with that light that is now a part of you,
Yeah.
as realizing your passion and dream come true to whatever means that it is. I'll never be the same as
Right.
I was.
I had
So,
a singer in my band who played the keyboard, just great, great keyboard player.
oh
And
my
she had a
goodness.
little bit more voice than she could control, but it just took her time to work on that. It takes
Uh-huh.
you're not going to sound like a Nashville star when you first start. It takes practice and working on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when her fingers became so crippled with arthritis or whatever it was, I'm not sure exactly why she couldn't play the keyboard, but I'm sure it had something to do with arthritis in her hands. She just
Uh-huh.
switched over to ukulele.
Oh my goodness.
Play
Yeah.
that. I don't know how, but she doesn't. And she just never gave up. And she got in a bunch of, she lives in Arizona now. She got in with a bunch of friends and who played ukulele. And so they're doing it in their church and having a great time.
Oh, that's so good. I
Yeah,
think
but
that's the important thing in all of life, right?
right,
All of our
it's adapting and
successes.
adjusting. Yeah.
Yes.
Life,
Yes.
life throws
Adapting and
curveballs. So where are you what are you doing now as far as do you songwrite or make CDs out of your performances, or I'm not familiar enough with what you do to be able to ask you the right questions. So I'll leave
uh,
it up to you.
that's all right. Yeah. Well, so I have always thought it would be really great to be a songwriter. And I feel like songwriting for me, it seems to come hard.
Ah,
The
yeah.
music doesn't come to me, fresh music, just created of my own, that I don't listen to it back. Like if I do a little recording, listen to it tomorrow and go, what the heck was I thinking? That's terrible. You know, but people have said, oh, your story, you have such a story and you have so much to tell. And I can't figure
Yes.
out, I can't, I haven't quite figured out how to let that out in a way that it doesn't feel like I'm bumbling over myself.
A good producer.
Maybe
I,
that's what it
I
is.
had a good producer, and he's also, you went to this thing in California. I can't think of what it is, but it is not everybody goes there, and
Uh-huh.
it's not Juilliard, but it's something similar. And so he is very, very skilled. Do you remember the band Heart?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, he's with two of the original people. He plays lead for Heart by Heart.
Oh, very good. Is it
Yeah, it's
Roger that you're
Chad
talking?
Christ. He's my producer and
Oh,
my
very good.
sponsor.
I
But
actually saw your interview with him.
yeah, he
Uh,
is just really good. And so what he did was have me go through line by line, word by word, explaining what he wanted me to do. And so he was almost a voice instructor. And
uh-huh.
when he looked at what I wrote, I had no idea. I thought it was all crap, but I had to try. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
I just felt I need to do this, and we worked together, and he was able to get me to see, you know, how we could take a raw piece of material and turn it into something that sounded pretty decent. And
Wow.
my first song was called Heartbreaker. It was about abused women, and I just loved it, and I just kept on and on. So I'm still doing it. I got one that I just got when I got sick and had a cancer with you. For 2 weeks, I couldn't even talk, much less play or sing. And
Uh-huh.
I need to go finish a song that I'm writing with him. But if you get somebody who really knows what they're doing, you can put down, a paragraph to two paragraphs and a little bit of a chorus and turn it into something good.
That's
Even
great.
by co-writing with people. I did a song just finished. It's on my website called Lavender Fields, and I co-wrote with a guy who has a band called the Chris Jones Bands, and he's an excellent writer. Has gotten awards, went to Nashville to record,
Wow.
and I did the song with him. He did the music part of it because I could do the writing, but I just could not. For some reason, that music just didn't come to me, and he helped me with that. So, it's like anything that you do in life. Sometimes it's not all you; it's the people that are helping you, the people
Yeah.
that guide you along the way. And that was my philosophy. That's what I did. But I don't, you got to find your own path. But I think anybody can write, especially anybody who's as good as you is singing,
Oh
and
my.
doing what you do and the way you do it, which is totally unique.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
that's really encouraging to me too, because it's interesting because I feel like that this year, uh, I'm, of course, right now is an exciting time. There's gigs coming in. I've applied and put my name out, and I'm anticipating, callbacks from places that I've
Mm,
played the last
great.
years
Great.
and all that kind of thing. But I noticed right now, I'm like, wow, like there could possibly be, a weekend or two a month possibly through the year that is not completely filled with performances.
Right.
And I always feel like that songwriting, or that focus that I've, or concentration, or whatever, creative flow, I feel like I'll need to have some space or whatever in my time, in my life, to be centered into that.
Right.
And so I've actually, the journey is always ever changing, ever
Right.
creating, and ever growing, and all of that. But I'm like, maybe this will be the year that I'll actually do some songwriting. I have one original song on my website,
Yes.
marciakester.com. And on the jukebox page, there's recordings that I've done at various studios in the area and through the years.
Yeah.
And my one original song, it's called Whose Life Is It Anyhow? I wrote
Yes.
back when I had just was graduating college and was asked to write about my where I was at, how I got to the music. And the song is basically when everybody else I thought was the no, telling me you can't do it,
Yeah.
whatever. I realized when I had all these people saying, you should do this, that I was the no the whole time. And so, whose life is it anyhow? Well,
Hey, sounds like a great song. I'm gonna look.
yeah.
I want to hear it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I
So,
encourage you to do this. It's not as difficult as it seems. You know that because you've done it. And once
uh,
you've done it, it comes easier each time.
well, they say write thousands of songs, right?
Well,
Like
I don't do that.
okay, because it's
I just
interesting.
write one song that I feel is going to be a good song.
I love it. Well, and I had to help with my the music came to me, but with the lyrics, how I said I
Yeah.
feel kind of like I bumble
Yeah.
over my words. I had a very great a writer friend at the time, and he helped me
Yeah.
say more succinctly
Right.
what I was trying
That's
to
what it
say.
takes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had to pair a lot of my bull crap in there for
Oh
myself. And he's like, why is it so wordy? I
my.
mean, you're going to have 14 verses on one song.
I love it. Well, hey, there's 10-minute songs out there. Not many, but there are.
So how can we find your gigs? Is that also on the Marcia Kester .com?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. You
Is that
can,
a regular website or is that
uh-huh.
on Facebook? Okay.
It's a regular. I also have my musician page, and I have a YouTube channel too that I have not populated much on there in the last probably over 5 years or whatever.
Okay.
But there's a variety of interviews through time, different performances, early performances to,
Oh, wow.
current performances between the three platforms. So marciakester.com is actually in 2007 was playing at the Majestic Inn Hotel in Anacortes, and this guy came into one night and said, "What's your website?" And I was like, "I don't have a website. I don't even know what I'm doing, you know." And he built me a website and
Oh,
taught me how to
nice.
maintain it. And he actually would not, he hosted it and secured the domain and all that stuff, and would not let me contribute anything financially to that for the years that he
Oh,
lived. He's actually been gone now for just a little
I'm
over
sorry.
10 years, but he had taught me everything that's on my website. He built, and I just continually update and upload things as I need to and can.
Mhm.
So I update my website for the performances about usually twice a month. And so if you go on the marciakester.com, you can Google Marcia. He even made it if you spell my name Marsha instead of CIA, it'll come up.
I got that lesson. I didn't make
Isn't
the
that
mistake
so
again.
funny? People never know what to call me after they see my name spelled. Just the other day in the store, this person, they're like, "Hey, that's Marcia."
Yeah,
I don't.
that's what I thought too.
Yeah, but in my mom's defense, Marcia Brady of the Brady Bunch, little known fact, they spelled her name Marcia.
Oh, for
So
heaven's
you
sake.
just got to think Marcia, 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 and then you'll have it.
Marsh. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and so there, and my I create and do the events and everything on the Facebook page, and then my personal page, I tend to post some things on my personal page that I don't necessarily everywhere, but people can follow. And
Right.
I want to be encouraging, and it can be, I'm sure you run into this, uh as human beings. I know for me, I tend to listen more to discouragement when it comes to my own life and
No,
what's
it comes from,
possible.
yeah, from inside my head. Negative
So
self-talk, I've learned to block it.
yeah, yeah. So don't listen
Mhm.
to that.
Yeah.
I was just telling my daughter, I was like, even when you're at that point and you're figuring out what you're doing and how to do it, when you feel like you can't, it's not an easy thing to do, but I've had to actually really tell myself, I believe what my most precious mentor and the people who believe in me, I believe what they believe until my thinking catches up with that. And if it's a mood, or it's just downright, discouragement over something that I don't know how to do it better or right or whatever, it's like I want to be that yes, because I believe that too often, especially in following our dreams, we
You
don't
probably
give
can't see it,
ourselves.
but somebody gave us a heart. They,
Oh, that's
when
awesome.
you were talking about
Yay.
that. So the next question that I want to ask you, there are a lot of things that I have to get you back again
Uh,
later on,
I will.
because we just barely touched on this stuff. But I would ask you two things. What was the worst gig you ever had? And what was the after followed out negative by a positive? What was the best one that said to you, uh, I am doing the right thing. This is what I want to do.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy, that's loaded. Okay. I people are so gracious.
Yeah.
And even when I look at my early gigs compared to the gigs now, I'm still I'm not, the petrified fear is no longer a part of my thing, but I'm always nervous and cautious. Is it going to go right? Am I going to
Right.
sound good? Am I
Right.
going to pick the
Yeah.
right songs? So the worst gigs were probably my earliest performances, where the whole time before, during, and after my performance, I was miserable, ill
Oh,
to myself out of
been there.
worry.
I've been there.
And it was not because then somebody would come along, and I think nobody's listening, I'm not doing well, and they'd be like, wow, I thought that was the radio or something. And I'm like,
Whoa.
okay,
Yeah. High praise.
yeah.
Oh, I know
So
exactly what you mean.
the worst gigs were always right here.
Yeah.
And the best, boy, there's not a moment now in the embrace of live performance where I am just not so present to the treasure And
Yes.
looking into people's faces when you can just tell that they're just
Definitely.
enamored with what you're doing. And as a performing musician, that's what we're out there to do, is to share what we love in such a way that it transcends to the audience.
Right.
And yeah,
Absolutely.
I played at Josephine Sunset Home this morning. And
Oh,
so I do elder cares as a part
yeah.
of my
Yeah.
performances as I can. And, to have anybody say, wow, I love that. Wow, I love your voice. You are so passionate, and I love to watch you,
Yeah.
or,
Oh,
to
yes.
listen to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, dude, for me too, girl. I've had that,
yeah,
so I understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I guess we're really closing in on time here. It's 1 o'clock. Can you believe that hour
I
went
can't
that
believe it.
fast?
I can't believe it. But I will
So,
gladly come back any
all
old time.
right. Super. I'm going to hold you to that.
I love that so much. Truly.
All
And
right.
thank you for the light that you are for women and
Thank you.
musicians of all kinds out
Thank
there. I
you.
really appreciate what you do, Joy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's high praise. I take that to heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you have a good rest of your journey. I'll be checking in with you probably 6 months to a year to see what you're up to, unless you tell me you got something coming up, like you wrote a song and you want it out there, and let me
Uh,
know.
okay, you got it.
All right. Well,
All right.
somebody just joined us, but you can watch this. I'll be posting it on YouTube, and I'll be posting it back here. And thank you again, Marcia, for coming out and listening. And you take care.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Well, I'm not sure what I have next week, but sometime in April, I'll be doing an interview. I did an interview this past Friday, um, sick and all, with a young man, Jake Douglas, who I had interviewed prior. And, he really asked the questions that made me think. And I had an offer from a young lady, a lady, Joanna, Eyres. I still get ears, I think. And she's going to interview me sometime in April, probably towards the end of April. But in the meantime, 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock on Monday at 2 o'clock next Monday, I do have another guest for you. Thank you all for joining today. And until I see you all again, have a good one. Bye bye.